A cartel used our airport, our system, our people. Tonight, we take Michigan back.
4:58 a.m., November 19th, 2025. FBI and DHS moved as one. The airport director's private office. Operation Wolverine Shield begins. What looked like a simple internal audit was moments away from exploding into Michigan's largest airport infiltration case, a hidden gateway quietly channeling CJNG-linked shipments into the United States. And tonight, investigators were finally uncovering how it happened. One woman had turned Michigan's proudest airport into a covert superhighway. Here is how it all came to light.
Federal agents have exposed a major cartel breach inside Michigan's largest airport, Kingid, led by the airport director herself.
4:58 a.m., November 19th, 2025, Detroit. Before sunrise, FBI and DHS teams swept through the operations wing of Detroit Metropolitan Airport, heading straight toward the office of 46-year-old airport director Evelyn Markham. What they found removed every remaining doubt. Evelyn wasn't operating for Michigan. She was quietly operating for CJNG interests. On her desk, 3 encrypted hard drives containing hidden routing codes. Inside her safe, over $72 million in concealed cash. Across her drawer, dozens of restricted area access badges issued to people with no verified connection to the airport. Many of those IDs were tied directly to CJNG-linked transport routes. The message was unmistakable. This wasn't mismanagement.
President Trump gave us one mission: make America safe again. And we will not sit idly by and let these drug dealers continue to do business, run roughshod on our neighborhoods.
Comment, expose, and hit like so more viewers can follow the story. As the search expanded beyond her office, the truth behind Evelyn's operation slowly emerged, and it was far more sophisticated than anyone expected. She didn't just support CJNG. She built an entire Michigan-based structure from within the airport itself. A federal audit revealed that across 4 years, Evelyn had quietly approved 46 midnight cargo flights, each one raising the same set of red flags, vague manifests, impossible weight totals, and routing codes matching known CJNG air corridors in Mexico. And even more concerning, Evelyn had slipped unauthorized individuals into high-access airport positions, 18 of them, several using unverifiable or mismatched identities. CJNG links exposed, unqualified, some using fake identities. With these insiders, Markham built a seamless smuggling pipeline. Shipments moved quietly from incoming aircraft into secured storage rooms, then onto trucks run by shell companies scattered across Detroit, Ann Arbor, Flint, and Grand Rapids. Federal tracing later confirmed these routes carried 2.9 tons of methamphetamine, 1.4 tons of cocaine, $450,000 fentanyl pills, over $127 million laundered through airline consulting accounts. Her son, 9-year-old Adrian Markham, wasn't on the sidelines. Records showed that Evelyn personally placed him on the night logistics team, granting him access to restricted cargo bays. Surveillance later captured Adrian coordinating pallet shifts, signaling crews, and relaying updates to CJNG-linked drivers, effectively a junior operator shaped and positioned by his mother. The system ran so smoothly that CJNG members began calling Detroit Metro Airport La Puerta del Norte, the North Gate. And standing at the center of that gate was one woman, Evelyn Markham, the director who transformed Michigan's largest airport into a hidden trafficking corridor. If you want to see how federal teams ultimately pushed back against this embedded CJNG network, comment ready below. By the time federal analysts finished mapping the full reach of Evelyn Markham's network, one conclusion was inescapable. Michigan had been compromised, and the breach stretched from the runways of Detroit Metro Airport to warehouses, trucking hubs, and rural airstrips statewide. Inside a secure command center beneath the DHS field office in Detroit, senior officials gathered around a wall of screens glowing with satellite maps, movement telemetry, and live drone feeds tracking suspected cartel convoys. The atmosphere was heavy, tense, electric, the moment just before something massive breaks loose. Then acting DHS Regional Director Michael Rohr stepped forward. His voice was calm, deliberate, and sharp enough to cut through the room. This is not just an enforcement sweep. This is a counter-infiltration mission. A cartel has exploited our airport, our contracts, and our people. Tonight we take Michigan back, and we take it back fast. The operation had a name: Operation Wolverine Shield. Its scale was unlike anything Michigan had witnessed in decades. At 2:14 a.m., the order was issued. Within seconds, nearly 840 federal agents surged out of staging points across Detroit, Dearborn, Lansing, and Grand Rapids. Blacked-out SUVs moved like a silent convoy down the empty highways. DHS armored units split off in multiple directions, each headed toward pre-identified targets. Operation Wolverine Shield moved into full force as federal teams advanced toward multiple CJNG-linked warehouses. FBI specialized response units stood by for the more fortified locations. Helicopters lifted off from Selfridge Air Base, blades cutting through the cold night air as they moved toward their designated targets. The first confrontation unfolded in Detroit's River Rouge Industrial Zone. A warehouse disguised as an aviation parts recycler shifted instantly from quiet to chaos the moment agents arrived. Precision breaching tools cracked through the reinforced steel doors, and tactical lights burst into the vast interior, washing the space in blinding white. Individuals inside scrambled behind pallet stacks, disoriented by the sudden entry and smoke. Federal teams moved forward in coordinated waves, shields raised, formations tight, voices calling commands in both English and Spanish. Within minutes, the noise inside shifted from confusion to surrender, equipment clattering across the concrete as the situation came under control. In Flint, a secondary operation met heavier resistance. A CJNG-linked cell had sealed themselves inside a converted aircraft maintenance hangar, reinforcing exits with steel plates and welding equipment. As agents advanced, spotters deployed small drones equipped with signal interference modules, momentarily disrupting communications. FBI tech teams countered quickly, cutting through the interference and clearing the way for DHS armored units to breach the hangar doors. Inside, agents discovered rows of duffel bags filled with illicit substances and pallets wrapped in tightly heat-sealed plastic materials matching the cargo patterns approved under Evelyn Markham's watch inside the airport. The cargo inside the hangar was identical to the shipments Evelyn Markham had quietly approved through the airport. But the most intense pursuit of the night unfolded in Grand Rapids. There, a convoy of 3 trucks linked to Markham's network tried to escape just as federal units closed in. Helicopters tracked the vehicles from above, their spotlights sweeping the highway, while ground units formed a tight blockade along the East Beltline. The trucks swerved sharply, brakes shrieking across the asphalt, and tactical teams moved in fast. One driver reached beneath a top for a concealed item. Agents reacted instantly, subduing him as the other 2 drivers stepped out with their hands raised, their faces washed pale under the blue strobe of emergency lights. By dawn, Operation Wolverine Shield had struck 32 coordinated targets across Michigan. 67 CJNG-linked operatives taken into custody. 9 compromised local officials arrested. Multiple airport employees detained for questioning. And Evelyn Markham's 9-year-old son, Adrian, was discovered inside a Detroit warehouse, attempting to delete footage from an internal server. Michigan hadn't just witnessed a raid. It had witnessed a statewide takedown, executed in the dead of night, a response to one airport director's betrayal and the massive network she allowed to flourish. And the consequences were only beginning. If that nighttime sweep gave you chills, hit like so. The algorithm knows this story deserves a wider audience. When the raids finally went quiet and the streets fell still, the real battle shifted behind closed doors, not outside, but inside a fortified FBI cyber forensics lab in downtown Detroit. Everything seized from Evelyn Markham's office and from the statewide operation: hard drives, encrypted phones, laptops, USB devices. Warehouse servers was spread across metal tables, like evidence from a covert war. Agents already knew the network was large. What they didn't know yet was just how far it reached. Digital evidence soon revealed what agents had feared. They still didn't know how large Markham's network truly was or how deeply she had wired CJNG into Michigan's infrastructure. For hours, specialists worked through the night, mounting drives and decoding fragments of encrypted data. What emerged wasn't confusion. It was precision, the kind of structure normally seen in advanced foreign intelligence operations, not inside a US airport. The first major breakthrough came from a small encrypted drive hidden behind Markham's filing cabinet. Inside were routing maps marked with 6 color-coded corridors. Each line traced the movement of CJNG-linked shipments from Detroit Metro Airport to distribution hubs in Toronto, Montreal, and Ottawa. This wasn't a regional loop. Under Markham's authority, Detroit had been transformed into an international gateway, a launchpad for CJNG's northern expansion into Canada. As investigators dug deeper, they uncovered financial ledgers disguised as routine aviation consulting invoices. Once decrypted, each invoice matched a specific narcotics shipment. More than $127 million had been funneled through 5 maintenance suppliers and a series of fake non-profit organizations based in Ann Arbor and Grand Rapids. One document highlighted 19 supposed charity donations, every dollar quietly redirected into cartel-controlled accounts in Guadalajara. But the most alarming discovery was a folder labeled Nexus. Inside were the names, photographs, and internal profiles of 48 airport employees who had been quietly recruited, pressured, or coerced into supporting CJNG operations. Baggage handlers, loading supervisors, night shift security, runway escorts, even 2 TSA contractors. Each profile listed access level, personal vulnerabilities, and payout amounts. Some individuals had been bribed, others intimidated. A few were connected to local officials already on Markham's payroll. Next to the Nexus folder sat an encrypted message thread between Markham and a CJNG logistics coordinator known only as Elvia Hero. In these exchanges, Markham discussed delivery schedules, pushed back over delays, and even threatened to replace a city inspector who demanded a larger cut. Her tone wasn't fearful. It wasn't hesitant. It was the tone of someone who believed she was indispensable, a partner, not a pawn. Her tone was the tone of a partner. Someone who believed she was essential to the entire operation. But the biggest breakthrough came from the airport's internal camera servers seized during the statewide raids. Forensic teams uncovered timestamps showing deliberate camera blackout windows that matched Markham's own maintenance logs. Those outages lined up precisely with CJNG-linked flight arrivals, confirming she had engineered visual blind spots to shield the network from federal oversight. In one restored clip, Adrian Markham was seen directing cargo pallets into a restricted area while texting on a phone later tied to encrypted cartel communications. His role wasn't accidental, it was operational. Under his mother's direction, he acted as a junior coordinator, monitoring workers, relaying updates, and making sure shipments moved to CJNG trucks without interruption. By midday, the digital picture finally came together. Evelyn Markham hadn't just aided a criminal network, she had built a fully integrated, multi-state pipeline. One that connected a Michigan airport to cartel strongholds across North America. She recruited employees, manipulated city departments, moved millions through disguised channels, and used her authority to transform Detroit Metro Airport into CJNG's most valuable northern asset. For federal agents reviewing the evidence, the conclusion was chilling. Michigan hadn't simply been infiltrated. It had been engineered into a cartel superhighway. By the time the last encrypted drive was decoded and the final warehouse in Grand Rapids was cleared, federal command finally understood the scale of what they were facing. This wasn't merely a smuggling operation. It was the collapse of an entire criminal architecture, all built and orchestrated by one woman inside Michigan's aviation system. Evelyn Markham's empire, once hidden behind the polished glass of Detroit Metro Airport, now stood fully exposed. And the numbers told a story almost no one in Washington had imagined happening inside a U.S. state. Cantadow arrests statewide. 67 confirmed CJNG-linked operatives. 9 compromised public officials, including inspectors, procurement supervisors, and county administrators. 48 airport employees suspended or removed. 4.3 tons of narcotics seized. $138 million in assets frozen across Michigan, Illinois, and Ontario. But the fallout extended far beyond the arrest totals. As FBI analysts briefed DHS leadership, one unsettling truth became clear. Markham had transformed her airport into something far more dangerous than anyone realized. The collapse of Evelyn Markham's empire revealed something even more alarming. Operation Wolverine Shield may have ended with arrests, seizures, and the dismantling of Michigan's cartel superhighway, but its legacy delivered a warning loud enough to echo nationwide. If one airport director could open the door to a foreign cartel and turn an entire U.S. state into a trafficking corridor, how many more hidden gateways are still operating in plain sight? If you want to continue this series exposing the individuals who opened America's doors to cartel operations, hit like, subscribe, and comment justice below.